Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at the first full electric vehicle that Toyota has brought out. And now it's not me farting, now it's the car with a very bad exhaust sound. This is the bz4X, which is the first full electric by Toyota. BZ stands for Beyond Zero, and the 4 might not stand for the all-wheel drive, but rather it stands for the fourth variant of a car, and the X also for the Cross, which is supposed to be a crossover car. So let's take a look at the front. First of all, the car starts at 47,490 euros. Our test vehicle with the comfort package that is extra is going to cost us 55,490 euros. So quite an expensive car, and that rivals with the ID4 or the ENIAC RS, or not the RS but the IV model. So in the front we have a fairly interesting design. I'm not personally the biggest fan of it. My cameraman likes the design in the front. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It does also have fairly bad quality when it comes to, well, everywhere you touch basically. This is all like hard plastic, and you can see how far you can like indent it in here, which is easy to replace, but still it doesn't make it look good. They could have just rather painted this in vehicle color, which would have made it nicer. Also some aerodynamic touches down here to also supply some air towards the brakes, so that you have a better braking cooling system in there. And then down here we actually have a camera which is not very centered. So right here would be centered where the Toyota logo is, but it's on the side, which again is not the nicest, and a lot of flies down here as well. The color on here is also going to cost you 1,090 euros extra. Standard wise you get a white color. We have the silver, which is a pretty okay color. I would have rather liked a little bit of a more interesting one. Down here we have some more intakes down there just to cool a little bit of our battery and also our electric motor. And further on we do have lights on here, which are LED lights. You could theoretically also get the matrix lights if you opt for the extra package, which is going to cost you another 3,700 euros extra, which is the Technic package or technology package. In general, let's take a look at one quick thing about the hood in here, because that's going to show you the quality as well. In here we do have an electric motor. I don't have the, actually no, I do have the key, which is going to allow you to get a total front wheel drive power of 204 horsepower with 266.3 Newton meters, which is an interesting number. But that's going to get you from 0 to 100 in 7.4 seconds. We're going to check that out here in a second if that's actually true. And here you can see we also don't have a frunk, which is a little bit unfortunate, but you kind of have a frunk in the back, which we'll see in a second. Take a look at the side here. So I'm going to let the hood drop a little bit, and you can see this whole thing shake in front. First of all, look at this. You can already see it. But let's drop it. That thing just, wow. I mean, that was a fairly high height, but this thing in the front, build quality not the greatest in here. Also on the hood, we do have some more hard plastic on the top here, which again is in this black color. If it would be a different color, I think it might actually not look that bad, like a blue or red that might kind of work together, but it's not the greatest. Let's also quickly see if we can get that 0 to 100. Okay, so for 0 to 100 test, I sadly can't find a straighter road right now, but it is supposed to be doing 7.5 seconds. The best we were able to get is, well, you're gonna see that now. We don't have a sport mode in here or anything like that, so let's quickly break down here and try out 0 to 100. So you can see it's definitely going uphill, but we are above 50% battery, or below 50 now. We did do one previously with 30%. The best we were able to get now is 8.56. I did do the other way, which was a slope of negative 4.7%. And that had around 7.9 seconds. 7.5 is claimed. The best we were able to get is 7.95. So you're gonna get nowhere close to that 7.5 mark. On here we have our rims, which are 18-inch rims. If you get the bigger technology package, you can also get up to 20-inch rims. Those would be a little bit nicer, but what we're gonna see in the video later on is the comforting of the suspension. So these 18-inch wheels are gonna be a little bit better, considering that the suspension here is not the greatest. Let's also quickly check out the distance of the braking distance in here, because online I read that it's not supposed to be the greatest, so we'll check that out real quick. So I'm hoping for a distance between around 34-35 meters. That's what I'm hoping for, because the car is not that heavy, so the brakes should do a fairly good job in braking this car fairly quickly. So let's see what we can get from 100 down to 0. That's a lot of sliding though, I gotta say. That is quite a lot of slithery in there. And that was 38 meters. Okay. Well, that was a fairly long value. And on the left side, we can also charge our car. So if you flip this open, which is also nice because we have these like automatic latches in here, which are a little bit more comfortable than, for instance, those like plastic, rubbery things that you got on there. The battery in here is a 71.4 kilowatts an hour battery, which is fairly good. You're going to get up to around 500 kilometers. 460 is usually what you're going to be able to get. which we'll check out here in a second if we drive as well. You can charge it up to 150. We did also do a quick loading speed test, and we went from 17% up to 52%. That took us a total of 12 minutes, which is really good. And we loaded a total of 23.3 kilowatts an hour with an average loading speed of 111 kilowatts and with the max loading speed of 143.2 kilowatts, which is really good. So actually one car that you can actually reach that speed. We did have optimal temperature today, and it was nobody used the loading station as well beside us, so that might be a case why it was so good. But let's quickly see what the consumption is. So WLTP claims 14.4 kilowatts an hour. What we are currently averaging is 15.9. We have just driven normally and we've gotten it down to around 15.2, so fairly low for an SUV this size. That's actually very good value. If you're driving just in city, we did one earlier which was around 15 kilometers, and it gave us a value of around 12.2. With that loading speed, this is actually a very good value, and it's going to give you a good amount of range. The battery in here is 71.4 kilowatts an hour, which might not seem like the biggest, and it does give you a range. We're currently at 43 kilometers. When we were at 43%, I mean. When we were at 50%, we had a left range of around 180, so 360 is claimed. If you do the calculation with around 14.4, you're going to get a range of around 469 kilometers, or 485, whatever my math is. But it claims up to 505 kilometers. If you're driving just in city, almost 600 kilometers, which is okay. If you're going over longer journeys with the loading speed, you can charge fairly quickly, so it might be okay to use it over longer journeys. But electric cars over the Autobahn, for instance, that's just going to drive the value up fairly high. For instance, up to I think around 18 or 19. That is also the average that our ID.5 had, so this car definitely has a very good consumption rate. We do also have, with the comfort package, get our automatically foldable side mirrors, which are nice with also this black touch ornament again. We do have side traffic assist on here, as well as we do have a camera down here for a 360-degree camera, which is a really bad 360-degree camera. We'll check that out in a second. Keyless go in the front for both sides, which is nice. Some more plastic touches down here, which again, quality-wise, one thing you can also listen to if I do this. Doesn't sound the highest quality. Hopefully you heard that. It's pretty windy outside, so most of the stuff you can't hear right now. We do have some lines going through, actually only one, and down here another one, which makes it look a little bit more sporty with some black touches here in the back as well. And again, all of these like wheel caps or wheel surroundings are going to be in this plastic, which I'm not the biggest fan of. If we go to the back, we can see the light goes fairly long through and all the way through. So we have full LED light going all the way through with our lights on the top, with also this like fence looking design in there, which looks pretty cool. Again, bz4X on the back, and in general an interesting design on the back. This on the top reminds me a little bit of the Peugeot 408 that we had previously, like this little rear spoiler. We also don't have a windshield wiper on the back, so when it's raining it might get a little bit dirty if it's very muddy on there as well. Down here again, more plastic, which is a little bit better quality on the front, but again not the greatest. Like this kind of fake diffuser down here as well, because there are some like diffuser touches down there as well. Again, the camera is also not completely centered on here, so it's a little bit off to the side. We could theoretically get a towing hitch on here with 750 kilograms, so not the biggest, but it does have the option. We do have the automatic rear trunk opener, and it does always make those sounds, which is not that great. This is a fairly big door, by the way. Like, this is massive. And in here you have a very good amount of space, 452 liters with no loading cap. What just flew out of there? I don't know. So a very good loading height in here with, again, very good space. You could theoretically, what I would have liked to see if they would have just put like some divider in here, just so you could put like some small grocery stuff in there. But in general, very nice big trunk with also this anti like moving, whatever you want to call it, yeah, thing in there. And we also have, like I said, a little bit of a frunk, I'd say, in the back where you can put your cables in there for the small cable. However, the bigger one is not going to be completely able to fit in there, which is a little bit unfortunate, but in general, a very big loading space in here. And again, it's just going to make those sounds, which is fairly loud. The design in the front is also very interesting. We got the steering wheel, which is very interesting because it is fairly compact, so everything is compactly integrated into this. We have a lot of buttons on the side, and the buttons are a little bit interesting because the right side doesn't control the infotainment system, but it does like a 50-50 split. You can skip the songs on there, but then you have your navigation system on there. You have your mode, which is like your favorite button, and on the left side is where you adjust the loudness of the infotainment display. And if I turn this up, you can see there's always going to be a beep which I don't know why, but that thing is louder than anything that you listen to when you're actually using the car, when listening to a song. That's a little bit irritating, but the infotainment display also comes with the comfort display, the comfort package, which is 6,900 euros extra. That's going to give you a 12.3 inch display, which is a really nice display and gives you a lot of stuff in here. You have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Android Auto, however, is not wirelessly. You have to charge it via, or you have to put it in via the cable down here. Inductive loading in here also comes with the comfort package. 2 cup holders in the center and also good amount of storage space in the center here. Seats wise, they're also fairly comfortable. The comfort package also gives you electrical seats for your driver's side. We also, one thing that's a little bit interesting, we don't have a glove box in here, so you can see there is nothing where you can store something in there, but then we have this big storage space down there, but that's already going to take up most of the space with this. And the other thing, a glove box, you can hide stuff in there if you're not in the car, but in here you can't really put anything in there, so the diamond ring that you put in here when you're driving a Toyota, you can't hide it anywhere, so robbers most likely can see that. Down here we have 2 USB-Cs and also a 12-volt charging port. And then we also don't have a heads-up display, but the digital cockpit is basically like a heads-up display. And it's kind of interesting with the steering wheel height, because you're going to have to adjust it so you can actually see over it. Quality-wise, fairly decent. Definitely what you'd also expect in the price range here. Sound systems also actually sounds fairly good. And again, on the front side, we basically have the same as in the back, which is fairly good material apart from all the way on the bottom. And piano black, I'm not the biggest fan of that. With the car being 4.69 meters long, you can definitely see we have a lot of room in here. Like, this is adjusted to me in the front. There's a spider web in there. Where the hell have you been taking this car? But this thing is 4.69 meters long, so you can see you have a lot of leg room, and it's adjusted to me, so 1.80 meters, 6 foot or 5'11". But the one thing that's not so nice is that the battery is fairly high up, and therefore the floor is also very high. And you can see the my thigh on here is really not supported at all. And even if I put it all the way forward, the feet, there's like this little bar in the front, so you can't put your feet underneath your seat in front of you. So you have to sit like this, so mansplaining in here, that you can actually have a comfortable sitting position in here. Otherwise, the seats are very comfortable. Isofix points in here also very easy to reach, so you can easily adjust them. They don't have a flap on there or anything like that, but they're easy to reach. In the center console, we don't have any like storage space in there, but we do have 2 USB-Cs in there, and also our climate control, which we can adjust, but not the temperature of it. Some more pocket space in the front, and we also have fairly decent amount of headroom, but not that much. So there's probably like around 7 centimeters above me. So not too much space. If you're a little bit taller, this might be a little bit problematic for you. Also, because it is fairly wide, the center seat is also fairly comfortable to sit in with 2 people beside you. That's also very nice, because you also don't have a bump in the middle, or just a very small bump. But other than that, you don't have a big bump in there. You also have little cup holders in here, so 2 of them, and also a little storage space in there. I don't know what the hell you'd use that for, but you also can't flip over the back here. So, or the center, so you can't put any skis there. You also, if you look at this side, you can see we have our kid safety in there. So that thing is easily adjustable. If you have an IQ over around 10, I'd say, you'd probably be able to flip it over and yeet out of the car yourself. Quality-wise on the side is okay, not bad. What you'd expect for this price range. Let's start off the drive by actually taking a look at the camera, because the camera in here is probably the worst I've ever seen in any car. Look at that. That thing comes with the comfort package, so 6,900 euros extra, and you get that quality. It's like playing a PlayStation 2 or 1 game. Really is really bad, but it does have a 360-degree camera. And you can also see, like, look at that, it's like the pixeling in there is just not the greatest. The digital cockpit in here is just really interesting when it comes to the height adjustment. It's the same as in Peugeot, for instance. The steering was a little bit smaller there, so it was a little bit easier to adjust. In here, the display is so far away, so it kind of works as a head-up display as well, but the height is just a little bit interesting, so you have to find a comfortable seating position, which sometimes is a little bit hard depending on your height. If you're taller, this is going to be easier for you. If you're smaller, then this is going to be hard for you, because you're going to sit like this. Well, I'm sorry about that. When it comes to the assistant features in here, we actually have quite a lot. With the comfort package, which does cost 6,700 euros extra, it comes with, you have blind spot assistance. You also did have that rear warning, collision warning that we just saw when we were in reverse. You also have, well, basically a heads-up display. You also get autonomous driving level 2 with also your road sign detection, which makes it fairly comfortable to have your cruise control in here. But the adaptive cruise control with lane keepalization assistant isn't the greatest, we gotta say, when you're driving around some longer corners. If we, for instance, put this on now, we're gonna go into, hold down the reset button, and then it's gonna go into the 100. And tighter corners, you can see it really doesn't like to turn in. So it's only good if you're really going on straight roads. So if you live in America, perfect car for you. Maybe this is a gay car. Surrounding view in here is okay. You do have a rear big window, so that's good, and the side mirrors are also insanely big. But the one thing that's not so nice is if you look out the parallel, or if you look out the side, that D pillar is insanely big. So we're parking into a corner. You're definitely going to need that comfort package to get that wonderful 360-degree camera with the best quality of my whole life. You're going to definitely need to get that, otherwise it's going to be pretty hard going into tighter spots in the city while reversing. If you listen to the outside noise right here, it's not the quietest. The wind noise do pick up fairly well when you're driving at around 90 or 100 kilometers. It is fairly windy outside right now, so it is a little bit louder than it's usually, but still, you don't have much tire noise, but the wind noise in here definitely is fairly loud. And then the cornering capabilities of this car actually are surprisingly fairly well. The car only weighs 1.8 tons. I'm not going completely fast here right now. But you wouldn't expect it to turn into these corners. It doesn't have much lean, so therefore it does turn into corners fairly well and feels better than you might expect from a car that only weighs 1.8 tons because of the wonderful materials that we have on the outside, so fairly cheap quality on the outside. But it actually turns in fairly well. The suspension here is also fairly firm, considering it's an SUV. You might not expect this. So the suspension is fairly firm. You can see over these bumps, you're going to feel every single little bump in the road, which is not that nice right over here. It's fairly bumpy. So yeah, suspension really doesn't do a good job on that. And tire noise, also one thing we noticed, the tire noise in the back is actually fairly loud. So on the front it's okay, but when you're driving faster, the back seems fairly loud with the tire noise. Don't know why that may be, but that's just how it is. So what's my final verdict on the first electric vehicle that Toyota has brought out? Well, to sum it up, it has a fairly good range, it has a good loading speed. Quality-wise on the outside is not the greatest. You have a good amount of legroom and general space in the interior, which is nice. And design is also something special that not a lot of cars have. Maybe a little bit of a Lexus design. Toyota and Lexus are obviously the same. But if you look at the competitors, ID.4 and also an Enyaq, for instance, I'm not the biggest fan of the Enyaq and also the ID.4, so both of those cars are not my favorite cars. In general, I think this segment of cars are just not my type because they're not that practical and fairly big as well for the city, and they don't have the biggest range. But in general, a fairly good car considering that the competitors that you have. So what is my final verdict on it? Well, I'd give it around a 6.5 out of 10 stars for this car. Hopefully you guys did enjoy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.